Hey guys, King of Charmanders here, and today I bring to you a video on the best Magnamalo weapons guide, the Season 7 Riftborne meta, as this video analyzes the weapons of the new featured Riftborne monster Magnamalo. And Magnamalo weapons are blast weapons, except for the bowguns, which are raw. And this video is updated to include all the current weapon types except for Insect Glaive because it's not out yet sadly, and it's not going to come until 2026, which is next year. March to be exact, according to the TGS Tokyo Game Show presentation, but yeah, we're just gonna have to wait for the IG till later. First, we're gonna start off with the list of Magnamalo weapons. So here's a note: these include the names when you upgrade them to grade 6. So when you upgrade to grade 6, they do have weapon changes. First, we have the Sword and Shield, which is the Sinister Sword, and then it turns into the Sinister Shadekeeper. Next up, we have the Great Sword, which starts off as the Sinister Blade and turns into the Sinister Shadow Blade. To the Longsword, we have the Sinister Longsword, and then it upgrades into the Sinister Shade Sword. Next up, we have the Hammer, which is the Sinister Hammer, and then it turns into the Sinister Shade Hammer. Moving on, we have the Dual Blades, which is the Sinister Blades, and it transforms into the Sinister Famine Blades. I think I said that right. And then we have the Lance, the Sinister Spear, turning and upgrading into the Sinister Shade Spear. Onto the Gun Lance, we have the Sinister Gun Lance, which turns into the powerful Sinister Shadow Shot. That's a cool name, by the way. The Charge Blade, we have the Sinister Slasher, which turns into the Sinister Shade Axe. And this brings us into the next one, which we have the Sinister Axe for the Switch Axe, and it turns into the Sinister Shadow Slice. For the bow, we have the Sinister Bow, which upgrades into the Sinister Soul Piercer. The Light Bowgun, which is the Sinister Bowgun, and turns into the Sinister Shadow Bolt. The Heavy Bowgun, which starts off as a Sinister Volley and turns into the Sinister Dread Volley. And last but not least, we have the Hunting Horn, which starts off as the Sinister Strum and it transforms into the Sinister Shade Strum. Moving on, we have the Magnamalo weapons forward stats and costs. So the Magnamalo weapons start at grade 4, with a base raw attack of 284 and a base status attack of 236, with a base affinity of 0%. And Magnamalo weapons have a good balance of raw attack and blast status. They honestly don't take much to forge, but of course as you upgrade them and max them out, you're going to need more materials. Speaking of max, here's the max stats and requirements of the Magnamalo weapons. So the max raw attack turns into 1817, with the max status attack being 516. And unfortunately, the Magnamalo weapons do not have positive or negative affinity, so their max affinity is 0%. And at max, the raw attack won't be the highest, but the status value rivals Basil Juice. And the thing about it is that Magnamalo weapons use Wyvern Gem Shards as their rarity 6. Yay, you don't have to worry about a special material or something like that. In fact, I think this is like the only boss monster I remember that actually doesn't have their unique rarity 6. And during the Riftborne Magnamalo event of October 2025, these materials will be further discounted, so make sure you take advantage of that. And Magnamalo weapons will be the first blast weapons you can style change, so they are worth going after for sure. Blast weapons can work against all monsters, so it's definitely something you want to take a look at if you're looking for some kind of generalist weapon to use across the board, and you don't have one already like, Black Diablos. If you have Black Diablos, you're fine, you don't need these, but they're nice to have. And now we have the data. So data is important. If you can't break down the data or you can't show the data, it's because you don't know how to actually break it down. And you probably shouldn't try to promote anything because you're very bad at the game. But what's not bad in the game is the Magnamalo melee weapons, as we have the Magnamalo melee damage comparison. And we're comparing the max damage of Magnamalo melee weapons versus the top blast monster types as of Season 7. As you see here, per the data, Basil Juice is the strongest raw damage-wise, and Teostra is the best overall. So here's the thing. Teostra, yes, of course, it's an Elder Dragon, but it has a good blend, with Basil Juice test having a great amount of raw damage. But if you break down the data even further, Magnamalo is second highest in terms of blast status value, and it only loses to Teostra by 6 points. Which means if you're looking at blast, you're going to be able to inflict it just as much as Teostra would, because 6 isn't a huge difference. But if you're looking at damage, unfortunately the damage difference is pretty large. Between Magnamalo weapons and the top two, the difference is pretty big at 11 to 19%. So that's a pretty big gap. But that doesn't mean Magnamalo weapons are bad. Combined with Blast, Magnamalo weapons can still edge out the meta and still are very good to use, and something you should consider building. On to the next one, we have the Magnamalo bow damage comparison, as we compare the max damage of the Magnamalo bow versus the top blast monster types as of Season 7. There's not a lot to go after, but unfortunately per the data, Teostra is the strongest. It's also a super weapon with a charge 3 to damage 4 mechanic, so bow is pretty much, yeah, it's really not worth it. It would be best used with bow style change, but the inherent problem is that as long as a super weapon exists, eventually the Elder Dragon weapons will be style customizable. So this is just a placeholder until those come out as the best of the best. But if we're just looking in general, even if you do bow style change, unfortunately a super weapon is just that powerful, and Teostra takes over as the best bow as far as blast goes. And last but not least, as far as data goes, we have the Magnamalo bowgun damage comparison, as we compare the max damage of Magnamalo bowgun weapons versus the top raw monster types as of Season 7. For light bowgun, T-Rex tops the list, however Magnamalo isn't too far behind, only at 5% less. This is what makes the bowguns really weird. They're raw. So because they're raw, you go up against all the raw top monsters. And speaking of monsters, for heavy bowgun, Black Diablo, she is the strongest raw monster archetype as of right now, and it tops the list with its ammo set being really hard to beat at 9% more damage than Magnamalo. So unfortunately, Black Diablo, she is queen, and the queen just takes Magnamalo and slaps it in the face and tells a poor tiger to sit down. And this brings us to take a look at the Magnamalo ranged weapon ammo comparison, as we compare the ammo of the Magnamalo ranged weapons versus the top raw monster types as of Season 7. So we're going to look at the raw ones, and when you put them up against raw like we mentioned with the data, it's kind of unfair, because for Magnamalo, the light bowgun, the potential with style change is insane. Otherwise, it wouldn't compare much versus T-Rex. No, seriously, style change is what kind of makes it where you tip the scales when it comes to light bowgun. Unfortunately, for the heavy bowgun, the future style change would need to make it much more mobile, otherwise Black Diablos just runs over as the best. With Black Diablos, all you literally have to do is sit there and fire, because Pierce has that range, and it does a lot of damage as it travels through monsters. And all you have is Pierce damage, or Pierce ammo, for Black Diablo's heavy bowgun. So, because of that, unfortunately, it's not that great unless, again, the future style change for heavy bowgun does something to Magnamalo. And when it comes to the bow in general, sadly, Magnamalo doesn't have much going for it. Even if you do have style change, Teostra has rapid 4 at charge 3. Super weapons will always beat out anything else. That's just how powerful they are. Especially when style change does come out for Elder Dragons, then those super weapons are just going to be so dang powerful. And just to make sure we go over everything, we have the Magnamalo weapons shelling, Phials, and melodies. And the Magnamalo gunlance has long shelling. This means it's ideal for a non-style changed gun lance. Charge shelling and poke for blast damage. That's what it is. Charge shelling is best when you don't style change, because for style changes for blast dash, normal shelling is best, and for guard reload, wide is best. There's no reason for you to style change a long shelled weapon just for the heck of it. Because with long shelling, again, you tap, hold, you burst, but what makes Magnamalo so good, and the reason why you see it in so many lobbies, pretty sure you've seen one, is because you can also worm stake shot for blast, making it really great, because you can start off the battle with worm stake shotting for blast, charge shell until you get around, and then just rinse and repeat, and you could do a ton of damage. That's why it's so good. But again, anything with a long shell, it's not ideal for the gunline style changes, unless we get another style change in the future for a third one. The Magnamalo Charge Blade has impact Phials allowing you to stun, and the Switch Axe carries power Phials for extra damage. This is pretty standard with anything that's like raw, but with the extra stun you get from the Charge Blade, pretty good, and power Phials are again to be expected for Magnamalo Switch Axe. Unfortunately, if you hunting horns are looking to melody your way to victory, unfortunately it only has a decent melody set. Sleep negated, not every monster is going to put you to sleep. Knockback negated at element value up L are good. Those are good, but that's pretty much it. Other than those two justifications, just combining Magnamalo's hunting horn, unless its style change comes out in the future, that's the only thing that we're going to have to wait for when it comes to the Magnamalo hunting horn. So with all that information, are the Magnamalo weapons worth building? Well, here's the overall analysis. So Magnamalo weapons are worth building if you don't have a blast status weapon built. If you don't have one built and maxed out, or you have one mainly to use, then they're totally worth it. Combined with style changes, Magnamalo weapons are great for any monster with their blast damage. You need something that's going to work against everything. Blast is pretty dang good. Combine that with Magnamalo's stats, and for raw damage and plus blasted, they're pretty dang solid, so definitely recommend. Some particularly notable weapons are the light bowgun, because you can do the evading reload / stepping shot. I can't wait to actually make content on that and show you possibly the most powerful combination for the light bowgun as we have right now. The hammer for water strike, because you can boink their dome to death and then commit blast murder at the same exact time, which is a great combination. The longsword for both styles, because you're able to do just so much damage. Along with that, you could proc blast with the super number of hits that you're going to be able to inflict with longsword, along with the dual blades and bow for their future style changes. The bow's still good, don't get me wrong. As much as Teatra is great, if you use the bow with style change, it can be really good. And again, dual blades, blast dual blades is absolutely amazing with Magnamalo, and we are going to get that style change in the future for November, so look out for them. Look out for your dual blades users. As of dual blades main, those dual blades custom styles are looking pretty sweet. And hopefully this video helps you decide which Magnamalo weapon to build. Magnamalo weapons will also be discounted for a short period of time starting October 13th, 2025. So it's worth building at least one of them to max out if you still need a generalist weapon for all monsters. I already have Black Diablo, the most powerful bow build. I don't know why the other creators don't, because they're not that great at the game, but you know what? If you need something still for a wide, broad range of monsters, then this is the best thing to look for as of right now, especially since they're discounted. With that being said, please do me a huge favor. Like, subscribe, and comment for the YouTube algorithm. Go look on your drops. I hope y'all are looking forward to this, because Magnamalo is going to be pretty dang sweet when it comes out. Go look on your grinds, and I will see y'all on the next video.